It was the night of October 23rd, 2010. It was a funeral of sorts, but not for a person, not even for a building. This was a funeral for something bigger. It was the death of the Ford plant, a beloved place in Brantford, Ontario. Tim Ford's first and foremost love has always been music. He listens to it, he plays it, he lives it. As a teenager, organizing and playing live gigs with his band, the Vermicious Kinid, was how he had fun. Music brought the best out of him. It also brought him to start the Ford plant.
I think when I first kind of conceived of it, I was 18 or 19. I was putting on shows in like halls and basements to like 300 kids every month, but we always used to get kicked out of the halls because we made a mess, or there was no real inspiration except for necessity. It needed to happen, it needed to be done, and it didn't seem like anybody else wanted to do it. So within a month we found a place, we found an apartment on top of the place, and we moved in and started putting on shows completely legally. We didn't know anything about permits or law that had electricity, and so we thought, hey, not bad. We built a makeshift stage from wood that we stole from the place next door. We had no money, but we knew that Brantford needed a place to go to listen and to play music. A lot of the reason I put on shows so that our band could play to begin with. And our band, I guess, was classified as an indie rock band. So most of the shows were like punk shows, but our intention was always to bring another kind of artistic, musical idea there, which is anything. If a folk band wanted to play, we'd put on a folk night, or, we had rap nights. Kids just wanted to watch music. These kids were going to come no matter what, and we felt it was our job to sort of let them discover new music that they never would have thought happened, like what's happening in the world.
It may have seemed like they were figuring things out as they went along, but from the beginning, Tim had a clear idea of exactly what the Ford plant had to be. Number one, it had to be an all-ages venue.
It always had to be for me, no matter what. I mean, I remember having to sneak into bars to go see my favorite bands, and then never getting to completely enjoy it because I was always scared I'd get kicked out. And the only time I got to see live bands is if they were in a basement or something. So it always, no matter what, had to be all ages.
The Ford plant was also to be not-for-profit.
We decided early on, before we started it, that we weren't going to take money from it. It was going to be our gift. We couldn't contribute too much to Brantford, a place that we've always loved and cared about, and we knew that this would be the only way we can maybe give back to it.
For the first few years, the Ford plant was essentially run by a collective community of friends and volunteers. But this collective started to shrink, for whatever reason, as people pursued other things, and Tim was left on his own. This is when Scott Wilson came into the picture.
Scott was pretty much a heaven sent, to be honest. He was just kind of annoying little kid who came to every show since he was about 16 years old. I say annoying just because I was 22 and he was 16, but he was always the one that kind of stayed afterwards and helped us sweep and helped us put all the cables away and stuff.
I was in grade 9 or 10 maybe. I really had no idea what it was. I walked past the building during the day, like going to KFC, going to Admiral's at lunch. It was just kind of like a myth to me. There was an opportunity to see like a friend's band one night, and I said, yeah, I'd go. I went down. It was good. I had a fun time, and I ended up going the next week and just kind of coming every so often, and then started helping out. Really, what drew me there was I needed something like it, I guess. There's nothing else to do. I was a musician, and there was nowhere for me to play, nowhere for me to see the kind of music I wanted to see.
We all just became really good friends, and he just started doing more and more. He started doing sound.
Chris and Josh left at pretty much the same time, and Tim came to me knowing that I was interested and that I'd already been helping a lot, and made it known that we needed to either close the place, and this was, probably 6 years ago, or we needed to start up a new business license and put it under our names.
And we looked at each other and we're just like, do we still want to do this? And we said, yeah, let's totally do it. And so that was basically when Josh left. It was the beginning of Scott and I being 50-50 partners, go down with the ship kind of captains. And I honestly couldn't have kept going without him.
So Tim and Scott continued to keep the Ford plant alive, but many people in the city still didn't understand why.
The local municipality thought we were strange, and they didn't get us, and most of them even tried to take us down even and close us because they didn't get why we weren't taking money. They thought maybe we were selling drugs or something. But kids are going to get drunk no matter where they are. Like, parents and the government blamed us for getting their kids drunk. Meanwhile, they probably stole it from their liquor cabinet. If a bunch of crazy kids could do it with no money, taking no money, and do it just for the sincerity of music and helping a scene that never really was, I think that was our main objective, to say you can do something without thinking financially about it. People never got it, and it backfired on us. We thought we were going to be praised. We thought we were going to get medals of honor. Not that we wanted it, but we just thought that the city would be like, good for you guys. And that was the exact opposite. People just thought we were just some weird hippie commune.
But after several years of being misunderstood, people eventually recognized the Ford plant as something special. In 2009, the Ford plant made it in the top 20 list for CBC Radio 3's award for Best Live Music Venue in Canada.
We technically got 14th. We got a email from them. It was insane. We actually got voted number 1 in the Globe and Mail 2 years before that. It's the weirdest thing in the world. To this day, people think I'm a millionaire because I own the Ford plant. We're just a bunch of dudes who put on a few shows a week or a few shows a month and have broken toilets and don't sweep, and then CBC emails you and say you're the 14th best venue in Canada. It's a weird thing because you don't think of it that way. But it's pretty fun. I mean, it's nice to hear. The funniest thing that ever happened to us is that we got nominated for 3 Brantford Tourism Awards. And we got invited to this big gala. And we got free booze and free dinner. And we just got pissed drunk in front of, the mayor and all of these kind of Brantford politicians. And I didn't dress up. I didn't know it was a dress-up occasion. Everyone was in these suits, and I was in jeans and a George Carlin t-shirt that said, Simon Says Go Fuck Yourself on the back. Just because I didn't know what I was going to. And we won all 3 of them. And so we had to go up and say speeches, and we got this glass vase-y thing. And we were just a bunch of schmucks and everyone was pissed off at us because we won. That was ridiculous. That was a ridiculous night.
A lot of the acclaim the Ford plant received over the years was probably due to Tim and Scott's ability to bring in some really big bands from really far away to play their really small space.
We had bands from Japan, we had bands from Australia, Sweden,
England, and all over the States. There was such a starvation for Brantford when it came to live music.
This is a venue that was spoken of as to be the best venue in Canada. In one of the cities that people laugh at in Canada, that people could never consider living. But it did warrant having a place to go for one night. Brantford totally was a place to go for 3 hours on a Saturday night, which is pretty awesome because we did pull in a lot of people from out of town. I remember the last Vermicious Kid show. We brought people in from Boston. There was people from Florida. We had people from Europe come to the very last show. It was it's insane. It made Brantford much bigger, for sure.
When the Ford plant started putting on the annual Murdered City Music Festival, it was almost a test to see if some of Canada's biggest independent artists would come and be a part of it.
And I think that was kind of the idea, just let's get really huge bands and see if they say yes. And all of a sudden they started saying yes. Constantine's played there a bunch of times, and, Wolf Braid kept coming back, and Sadie's, and that was the whole idea, to get huge bands and bring them down to such a place that they normally wouldn't play. It was completely selfish. We're just like, what bands do we want to see every single night? I think the idea was to show them what, being in a band should be like.
But after a while, something happened that changed how Tim looked at music and bands playing music.